Sir, you've been leaving the same $10 tip every morning for almost a year.
The young waitress smiled as she held up the crisp bill.
I have to ask, why exactly $10?
The handsome businessman looked at her for a long moment, but didn't answer. Instead, he smiled softly, picked up his coffee, and walked toward the door. Just before leaving, he turned back.
One day, Olivia. I'll tell you.
He said quietly. She watched him disappear through the glass doors, never imagining that the answer to that simple question would uncover a promise kept for years. A promise that would change both of their lives forever. Olivia Parker had worked at Maple Street Diner for almost 2 years. At 24, she balanced 2 very different lives. During the day, she worked as a waitress, greeting customers with a warm smile no matter how tired she felt. In the evenings, she attended nursing school, determined to earn her degree and one day become a pediatric nurse. It wasn't easy, but she refused to give up on the dream she had carried since she was a little girl. Every morning, before the breakfast rush began, one customer always arrived at exactly 7:15. His name was Ethan Carter. He was polite, well-dressed, and unusually quiet. He always chose the same table by the window, ordered black coffee and buttered toast, thanked Olivia every time she served him, and never stayed longer than 20 minutes. Then, just before leaving, he would place a crisp $10 bill beside his empty coffee cup. Every single morning. At first, Olivia thought it was just a generous habit, but after months of seeing him leave the exact same amount, never more, never less, she couldn't help wondering why. "He's here again," one of the waitresses whispered with a grin. "Your favorite customer." Olivia laughed as she picked up the coffee pot. "He's not my favorite." "Oh, really?" her coworker teased. "Then why do you always smile when he walks through that door?" Olivia rolled her eyes, though she couldn't hide the smile on her face. "I smile at all my customers." Her coworker laughed. "Not like that." Before Olivia could answer, the bell above the diner's entrance chimed. She didn't need to look. She already knew who had just walked in. Right on time. Ethan Carter settled into his usual seat by the window and opened the morning newspaper while waiting for his breakfast. As always, Olivia walked over with a fresh cup of black coffee before he even had to ask. "You remembered," Ethan said with a smile. "You've ordered the same breakfast every morning for almost a year," Olivia replied playfully. "I'd be a terrible waitress if I forgot." He chuckled. "Fair enough." A few minutes later, she returned with his toast. "Busy day ahead?" she asked. "The usual," Ethan answered. "Meetings, phone calls, too many emails." Olivia laughed. "Sounds exhausting." "It is. So why do you always stop here first?" Ethan looked around the cozy diner before answering. "It's peaceful." Olivia smiled. "I guess that's one way to describe this place. It reminds me that life doesn't always have to be rushed." For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The comfortable silence was broken when another customer called Olivia's name. "I'd better get back to work," she said. "Of course." As Ethan finished his breakfast, he reached into his wallet, placed the payment on the table, and gently laid another crisp $10 bill beside the receipt. "Have a wonderful day, Olivia." "You too, Mr. Carter." She watched him leave, then picked up the tip. Just like every other morning. Exactly $10. She smiled to herself. "One day," she whispered, slipping the bill into her apron. "I'm going to find out why." The days slowly turned into weeks, and before either of them realized it, Their morning conversations had become part of their routine. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," Olivia greeted as she poured his coffee. "Good morning, Olivia. How are your classes going?" She looked up, surprised. "You remembered I'm in nursing school?" Ethan smiled. "You mentioned you had an anatomy exam last week." "I passed," she said proudly. "I knew you would," she laughed. "You're more confident than I am." "I've learned that people who work as hard as you usually succeed." His words stayed with her long after she walked away to serve another table. The breakfast rush soon filled the diner, but every now and then, Ethan noticed Olivia helping an elderly customer carry his tray, patiently listening to a little boy who couldn't decide what to order, and smiling at everyone who walked through the door. She treated every customer with the same kindness. It wasn't something she did because it was her job. It was simply who she was. When Ethan finished his breakfast, he stood to leave. "Good luck with your classes tonight," he said. "Thank you." "And don't study too late," Olivia smiled. "I'll try." As always, he left the payment for his breakfast. And another crisp $10 bill. She watched him walk out of the diner before quietly shaking her head with a smile. "I still don't understand you, Mr. Carter," she whispered. "But I'm beginning to think there's a story behind those $10. A few mornings later, the diner was unusually quiet. Only a handful of customers had arrived, giving Olivia a rare chance to catch her breath. As she refilled Ethan's coffee, he noticed a thick textbook tucked beneath the counter. "Nursing?" he asked, nodding toward the book. Olivia smiled. "My final exams are only a few weeks away." "Are you nervous?" "A little," she admitted. "There's so much to remember. Sometimes I wonder if I'm studying enough." Ethan looked at her for a moment before saying, "From what I've seen, you never do anything halfway. I think you'll do just fine." She laughed softly. "You really know how to encourage people." "I only tell the truth." For the first time, Olivia felt herself blush. "Well, thank you." Just then, the cook called her name from the kitchen. "I'd better get back to work before my boss thinks I'm taking an extra coffee break." Ethan smiled. "I wouldn't want to get you into trouble." She started to walk away, then turned back. "Oh, and thank you." "For what?" "For believing in me." Ethan gave her a small nod. Sometimes all a person needs is someone who believes they can do it. Olivia carried the next order to another table, but she couldn't stop smiling. As Ethan finished his breakfast, he placed the bill on the table, along with another crisp $10 note. He stood, adjusted his suit jacket, and headed for the door. "Have a great day, Olivia." "You too, Mr. Carter." She watched him leave, then looked down at the $10 bill. Still exactly $10. Still every single morning. And somehow, she found herself smiling every time she saw it. The following week, Ethan walked into the diner at his usual time. Before he could reach his favorite table, Olivia greeted him with a bright smile. "Good morning, Mr. Carter." "Good morning, Olivia." She placed his coffee in front of him. "You look tired today." She let out a small laugh. "I was up until 1 in the morning studying." "I thought your exams were still a few weeks away." "They are," she replied. "That's exactly why I'm studying so hard now. I don't want to be cramming at the last minute." Ethan nodded approvingly. "That's a smart plan." Olivia rested one hand lightly on the table. "I just hope all this studying pays off." "It will," Ethan said confidently. "What makes you so sure?" "Because every morning I walk in here, you're already smiling before the doors even open. Then you work a full shift, and after that, you spend your evenings studying." He smiled warmly. People with that kind of determination usually achieve their dreams. Olivia couldn't help but smile. "You always know the right thing to say." "I've had a lot of good teachers in life." Just then, another customer called Olivia's name. "I'd better get back to work." As she turned to leave, Ethan spoke again. "Olivia." She looked back. "When you become a nurse one day." She laughed. "You mean if I become one?" He shook his head. "No." "When?" For a moment, neither of them spoke. His confidence in her somehow made her believe in herself a little more. "I'll remember that," she said softly before returning to her work. 20 minutes later, Ethan finished his breakfast. He placed the payment on the table, then carefully laid another crisp $10 bill beside the receipt. "Have a wonderful day, Olivia." "You too, Mr. Carter." She watched him walk out of the diner, smiling to herself. For reasons she couldn't explain, her mornings always seemed a little brighter after he stopped by. The next morning, Olivia glanced at the clock above the counter. 7:10 a.m. She poured fresh coffee into the pot and arranged a few clean cups on the shelf. 5 minutes later, the bell above the diner's door chimed. A customer walked in. It wasn't Ethan. She looked back at the clock. 7:20. That was unusual. For nearly a year, he had never been late. Trying not to think about it, Olivia continued serving customers. By 7:40, his favorite table by the window was still empty. One of her coworkers noticed her looking toward the door. "Waiting for your regular customer?" she teased. Olivia quickly shook her head. "No, I was just wondering if he was okay." "I'm sure he's fine. Businessmen are busy people." "I know." Still, she couldn't help hoping he would walk through the door. Just as the breakfast rush was beginning to slow down, the bell chimed again. Olivia looked up. There he was. "I'm so sorry I'm late," Ethan said as he walked in. "A meeting ran much longer than I expected." Olivia smiled, relieved before she could stop herself. "I was beginning to think something had happened." Ethan looked at her with a gentle smile. "I'm touched you noticed." She laughed softly, feeling a little embarrassed. "Well, your table looked lonely without you." He chuckled. "I'll try not to disappoint it again." As always, she brought him his usual breakfast without asking. When he finished, he stood, thanked her, and placed another crisp $10 bill beside the receipt. "See you tomorrow, Olivia." She smiled. "I'll have your coffee ready." For the first time, both of them walked away with the same quiet thought. Their mornings just didn't feel the same without each other. The following afternoon, Olivia left the diner a little earlier than usual. She wanted to spend a few quiet hours at the public library before her evening nursing class. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, traffic suddenly slowed to a stop. A line of black luxury SUVs pulled up outside the tallest office building across the street. Curious, Olivia paused for a moment. Several men in dark suits quickly stepped out, opening the rear door of the first vehicle. To Olivia's surprise, Ethan stepped out. He adjusted his suit jacket and greeted the people waiting for him with a polite smile. The men shook his hand respectfully as they followed him toward the building. "That's Ethan Carter," a woman standing nearby said to her friend. "He's one of the youngest billionaires in the country." Olivia blinked. "Billionaire?" she whispered. She looked back toward the building just in time to see Ethan disappear through the glass entrance. She couldn't believe it. The quiet man who enjoyed black coffee, buttered toast, and peaceful mornings at her little diner. was one of the richest men in America. Suddenly, so many things made sense. His tailored suits, his calm confidence, the expensive watch he always wore but never talked about. Yet despite all his wealth, he had never once mentioned who he was. The next morning, as Olivia prepared his usual breakfast, she couldn't help smiling to herself. For the first time since they met, she was seeing Ethan Carter in a completely different light. The next morning, Ethan arrived at exactly 7:15, just as he always did. Olivia greeted him with a smile, but this time she couldn't hide the curiosity in her eyes. She placed his coffee and toast on the table. "Good morning, Mr. Carter." "Good morning, Olivia." He noticed her thoughtful expression. "You seem like you have something on your mind." She hesitated for a moment before laughing softly. "I guess I'm just surprised." "About what?" "I found out yesterday that you're one of the richest men in the country." Ethan smiled. "So, the secret's out. You never told me. You never asked." Olivia shook her head with a smile. "I honestly thought you were just a businessman who liked quiet breakfasts." "I do like quiet breakfasts," he replied. They both laughed. After finishing his meal, Ethan reached into his wallet and placed the money on the table. Then, as always, he laid a crisp $10 bill beside the receipt. Olivia looked at the bill for a long moment before gently picking it up. "Can I finally ask you something?" "You can ask me anything." She looked into his eyes. "Why is it always exactly $10? The smile on Ethan's face slowly disappeared. For a few seconds, he simply looked at the bill resting in Olivia's hand. Then he took a slow breath. "Because that $10 changed my mother's life." Olivia remained silent. There was something in Ethan's voice she had never heard before. It wasn't sadness. It was gratitude. He looked out the window for a moment before turning back to her. "If you have a few minutes tomorrow morning," he said quietly, "I'll tell you the whole story." Olivia smiled gently. "I'd like that." As Ethan walked toward the door, Olivia looked down at the $10 bill once more. For the first time, she realized it had never been just a tip. By morning, Ethan arrived a little earlier than usual. Olivia had already prepared his coffee. As she placed the cup on the table, he smiled. "You remembered." "I told you I'd be here." After taking a sip of his coffee, Ethan looked out the window for a moment before speaking. "When I was 8 years old, my father passed away." Olivia listened quietly. "My mother suddenly had to raise me by herself. She worked 2 jobs, and one of them was in a little diner. A lot like this one." He paused, smiling faintly at the memory. "She worked long hours, but she never complained. She always said that as long as we had each other, we'd be okay." Olivia nodded gently. "One winter, things became really difficult. We were behind on rent, and there were days when my mother pretended she wasn't hungry so I could eat." Ethan's voice softened. Then one morning, a customer left a $10 tip. He looked at the bill lying on the table. The next morning, the same customer came back and left another $10. And the next day, another $10. Olivia smiled through misty eyes. My mother never learned his name. She only knew that every morning, someone chose kindness. Ethan continued, "Those $10 tips helped us buy groceries, pay bills, and get through one of the hardest times of our lives." He looked at Olivia. "Before my mother passed away, she made me promise her something." "What was it?" Olivia asked softly. He smiled. She said, "If life ever blesses you, never forget what a small act of kindness can mean to someone." Ethan gently placed another $10 bill on the table. "So when I became successful, I came back to a diner like the one where she worked." He looked around the room. "And every morning, I leave $10. Not because it's a lot of money." He smiled warmly. "But because once upon a time, it meant everything." Olivia felt tears fill her eyes. She reached across the table and gently placed her hand over his. "Your mother would be so proud of the man you became." For the first time in a long time, Ethan felt the quiet comfort of someone who truly understood him. Several months passed. Olivia graduated from nursing school with honors. True to his word, Ethan was there, sitting quietly among the crowd, applauding as she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. When the ceremony ended, Olivia spotted him waiting with a bouquet of white lilies. "You came," she said, unable to hide her smile. "I told you," Ethan replied. "I wasn't going to miss this." She looked down at the flowers. "They're beautiful. They're well-deserved." Over the next few months, their friendship slowly grew into something deeper. Some evenings, Ethan would pick Olivia up after work, and they would take long walks through the city park. Other days, they shared breakfast at the same little diner where they had first met. Neither of them rushed what they were feeling. They simply enjoyed being together. Then, one crisp autumn morning, Ethan arrived at the diner before anyone else. When Olivia walked over with his coffee, she smiled. "You beat me here today?" "I wanted to." He reached into his wallet and placed a crisp $10 bill on the table. Olivia laughed softly. "I had a feeling you were going to do that." Ethan stood, walked around the table, and looked into her eyes. "That $10 bill reminds me of where I came from. It reminds me that kindness can change a life." He gently took her hand. "And meeting you reminded me that kindness can also lead you to the person you're meant to spend your life with." Olivia felt tears gather in her eyes. "Ethan, I've shared my mornings with you for a long time," he said with a smile. "Now I'd like to share every tomorrow with you." He slowly knelt on one knee and opened a small velvet ring box. "Olivia Parker, will you marry me?" She laughed through happy tears before nodding again and again. "Yes. Yes, I will." The small diner erupted in applause. The cook stepped out of the kitchen, the waitresses wiped away tears, and even the regular customers smiled as Ethan slipped the ring onto Olivia's finger. As they embraced, Olivia glanced down at the $10 bill still resting on the table. It had started as a mystery. It became a promise. And in the end, it led them both to the greatest gift either of them could have asked for. A love built on kindness, gratitude, and the simple moments that changed two lives forever. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable billionaire love stories with heartwarming endings. Now I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, if you were Olivia, would you have fallen in love with Ethan before knowing he was a billionaire? Or would the truth behind the $10 tip have changed everything for you? And if you can't get enough of these emotional billionaire romances, I've put together a special ebook featuring 5 of my favorite billionaire love stories, filled with romance, heartfelt moments, and unforgettable happy endings. You'll find the link in the description below. I hope you enjoy reading them as much as I enjoyed creating them for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.